There are some other big games, but none bigger. I'd say the game of the weekend was Kansas City and Cincinnati. And the Bengals win in a thriller, 34-31 on a late field goal to win it. They won the AFC North Division along with it. Joe Burrow was fantastic, 446 yards, 4 touchdowns, no INTs. And outplayed Patrick Mahomes as they outplayed the Chiefs. And the Bengals look like they're for real. They look like they're a threat. And, Rob, I'll just say this before you go. You know, historically you think, man, is the team going to go from not making the playoffs to the Super Bowl? But, Rob, in 3 of our last 4 Super Bowls, that's actually been the case. One team has done that. Now, last year, Tampa Bay, you could put an asterisk by that because obviously they added Tom Brady and a few other top players. Same thing with San Francisco back in, 2019 when they just got healthy, right? Jimmy G and some other players were injured the year before, so they had an off year. But Philadelphia, when they did it in 2017, I mean, that was a legitimate from going 7-9 the year before to having a great season and winning the Super Bowl. So you got to at least say, hey, the Bengals, you know, you gotta take them seriously. And I thought they looked really good yesterday.
Yeah, it wasn't so much the Bengals that bothered me. It was the Chiefs. That's what I came away with that game. That was a huge game to win the AFC and have your own control over what's happening. And now the Titans can win, and you don't have a first round bye. I mean, this was a game they were up 28-14 on the road. They only scored 3 points in the second half.
Right.
And that's a big loss. And you saw somebody, we talked about the Chiefs defense. I know they had played well for a stretch, but they gave up almost 500 passing yards in a game they were up 28-14. It just, there was some telltale signs there, like the ugly Kansas City reappeared. The one that we saw give up the game to the Chargers, give up the game to the Buffalo. No, who was the other one? Baltimore came in and scored 28, whatever it was. Big second half.
Well, the Bills, they lost to the Bills, they lost to the Chargers, they lost to the Ravens. That's when they were really struggling early in the year.
Right, their defense, and it was the defense that just couldn't do anything. So that was a sign to me in a game that they had something really to play for. And I'm not taking anything away from Cincinnati. Cincinnati played well. I give Joe Burrow credit and Chase and all that, Chris. But with so much, and I get it, they won 8 in a row, Kansas City, trying to win 9 in a row. It ain't easy. But it wasn't like they got jumped on and they couldn't get out of the hole. Like they got jumped on in Cincinnati and it was 17-0 and they just couldn't recover.
Right.
They had this game.
Well, they were up by 14 3 times. 14-0, right. 21-7, 28-14.
Right. This is what I'm saying. Like this is a game that the way this team had turned a corner should have been able to win. I'm not saying it wouldn't have been tight or a close game, maybe not a blowout because Cincinnati's better than that. But it really surprised me in a must-win to have a first-round bye and have home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs that in the second half they didn't come up with anything. 3 points and the defense couldn't stop the Bengals offense. It was
costly. Like you said, they most likely lost home field advantage through the AFC playoffs. So it was costly in that regard. But as someone that's picked the Kansas City Chiefs to get back to the Super Bowl and win the AFC, in fact, to win it all, not worried, not at all. Not now. They can be beaten. They're not unbeatable by any stretch. But I still think they are the legitimate favorite in the AFC. And, Rob, I actually think this was a nice wake-up call for them. I think this was just what the doctor ordered. Because, like you said, they had won 8 straight. Everybody's praising the defense. They're talking about having their swagger back. Oh, they got their swagger back. All of that stuff. And they had beaten good teams. The Raiders twice. The Cowboys. The Packers, granted, without Aaron Rodgers. But the Chargers, they had beaten good teams, so they may have been feeling themselves a little bit. They get up big, two scores by Mahomes in the first quarter. I thought it was going to be a rout. I was texting with Nick Wright, my co-host on First Things First. I was like, yeah, dang, it looks like this is going to be a rout.
Yeah, I'm sure that you needed some baby oil with that conversation. You and Nick Wright.
He's Mr. Chief. I mean, I picked him. But, yeah, I mean, so.
Did you talk to him after the game is what I want to know.
Well, we talked to him, yeah, and I talked to him on the show today. He was hurting. But, like I said, to me, this is good. You said it's hard to win 9 straight games in the NFL. We see all the time teams lose games to teams that are not as good as them. And so I'm not panicking. I'm not, here they're in trouble. They're back to their old ways. Now, I thought Spagnuolo, he insists on covering Jamar Chase one-on-one.
I don't know
and
how.
He paid, right.
I don't know
he paid
a football
for it.
coach. I'm not a football coach, but I'm sorry. Somebody else got to beat me. I'm sorry.
Right. And that's where I think, should they meet in the playoffs, he's got to make some adjustments. You obviously have plenty of tape showing that you can't guard this dude one-on-one. He is fantastic, Rob. But they had a lot of big, huge chunk plays. You know what I mean? It wasn't like they consistently just marched on them. So they had a lot of big chunk plays. The one chase on the sideline, or how in the world he got that wide open. The one where he took the little slant and went, I don't even know if it was a slant, but it was a short pass. He took it all the way to the house. I mean, his speed was ridiculous. So outside, they had some huge plays. But I think Kansas City will be fine. Like I said, I think this is a good wake-up call for them to realize, you know what, it's not going to be easy. All right, we thought we had it back, but we're going to have to fight and grind and scratch and claw to get out of the AFC, and I think that'll be good for them.
Yeah, I mean, that would be if you were the team, you try to spin it that way, but I just like to just say, hey, yeah, okay, but it wasn't like they were down. They were doing what they wanted to in the first half, and it got stopped. That's the part. Chris, it's okay if Cincinnati is putting up points, but they had put up points already. 3 points in the second half. I mean, that's the part that I'm. What happened? Where they went from scoring at will to only getting a field goal. So I get Cincinnati, their high-powered offense. I don't know their defense to be that great.
Their pass defense isn't.
Yeah,
their rush defense
well, it didn't look
good.
like it in the first
defense,
half. It surely didn't look
right.
like
But but just like you say, okay, they scored 3 points, and they did. It was bad, all right. But they also scored 28 in the first half. So, I mean, they scored 31 for the game. All the talk about their offense is sorry this year, and it's all about the defense. They're 4th in the league in scoring. Like, they still can put up points. They don't do it in as dazzling a fashion as they have in the past 2 years. But they still are capable of putting up. I mean, again, they lost 34-31. So even though the offense only accounted for 3 points in the second half, and I'm not glossing over that, this one was on the defense. You give up 34 points, then that's on your defense. They should have won scoring 31. So, the defense, like I said, maybe they were reading their press clippings. Maybe they were thinking they're the best defensive unit in the league, which they have been for, several weeks. But they got a nice little slap in the face, and I think it'll serve them well.
Yeah, I just wonder. The road is tougher if you don't have the if you don't. It's just tougher.
Yeah,
just
without home, you got to play that bye now.
It's a tougher road, especially when you had it. It ain't like you didn't have it and you were fighting your way all the way up trying to get it and you never attained it. You had it right there and you had the lead and you had a chance to bury Cincinnati and just couldn't. And I think that's the part that you look at as a missed opportunity to really solidify yourself. That was the one of all those other wins that they had. That was the one that they needed most and they didn't get it. And that's why I think,
You don't think the Texans will be able to take out Tennessee?
No.
And do them a favor?
I'd be surprised.
Without Derrick Henry, the Texans did get a couple upsets. They had a nice little upsets.
They're not going to upset the way
recently.
Tennessee's played. You know what I mean? In situations where they could have easily been falling out. For them to have the top
you gotta
spot in
give
the
them credit.
AFC, Chris,
Right.
you got to give them
gotta give them
credit. Without Derrick
Absolutely.
Henry.
And
That's
then
incredible.
Henry, we'll talk about this later in the week, but it looks like he could be back for the playoffs.
Right.
He's going to be taken off the injury reserve. And here's the thing, Rob, about Henry. He'll be fresh. He'll be fresh. I mean, all the players have the bumps and bruises, from the whole season. Derrick Henry will be fresh. So they're going to be tough. But I still got Kansas City. I still feel good about that one. Nice little wake-up call this weekend.